Welcome to the Authentic Leader Show podcast. Today's podcast is called Why Training Programs Fail. It's an episode about top mistakes that technology leaders make with training programs and what to do instead. Welcome to the Authentic Leader Show. The Authentic Leader Show is the podcast about technology leaders who are crushing the bell curve of team performance and leading high-performing technology teams. Now, today's topic, it's a real topic that I work through with leaders that I work with. And there are performance issues in the team, and training is going to address it, right? I mean, that's what we think, and that's the first thing that many times leaders will go to. But I happen to know that you are wasting time and money on training if you are doing one of these three things. So number one is that you are choosing training based on the title of the training. So I get it, right? We're looking to address some sort of an issue, and we look at training programs. We look through the training titles. You see that title, like that training title, like that speaks to exactly what it is that I need, right? But that can be a waste of money and time. Or number two, what you could be doing is that you are sending your team members to training programs to fix them, right? There's some sort of a problem. There's a performance issues. There's something that has to be fixed in the way that they're doing their job. And you're just simply going to say, oh, training is the answer. Boom, that is it. And I'm going to send them to the training, and that will finally fix them. Or another thing that you're doing to waste your money on training is that you've decided that training is the best way to develop your team. Now, I also get this. I mean, what we know is that in your role as a leader and as a manager, part of your role is to develop your team. And what easier way to do that than let's just go get them some training, right? I mean, that it's right there for the taking. There's training all over the place. Training that is going to help to develop my team and help them to grow in their career. So, but what we find is that actually ends up being also a waste of your training dollars. And because you are doing one of these three things, I also know that you are upset with the trainer for not training on the topic that you saw in the training title. Like you saw the training title, you had a picture in your mind what this training was going to be. Now, at the end of the training, you're upset because what you feel like you got in the training was not living up to the expectations that the title created for you. Or the second thing, what I also know that you're doing is that you are confused why your team members, they haven't trained what you are. Let me say that all again. So you're confused why your training members haven't changed after the training. They've gone to the training. You're expecting the performance to change. You're expecting something to change in the way in which they're doing their job, yet they've not changed. They're doing exactly the same things they were doing before, and you're frustrated by that. Or the third thing is that you are continuing to see your team stay stagnant in their role, right? They're exactly where they were in their role. Their performance level also has been stagnant. Even their career has been stagnant. They've not grown in their career and in their performance and in their role. So if you have not seen your team grow in their career for, let's say, more than 6 months or to a year, maybe, then I know that you are relying too heavily on training to develop your team. Now, yes, I mean, that's what happens. And I see this all the time with the leaders who I work with. Now, just so you know, because I'm obligated to let you know this, is that inside of the Authentic Leader framework that I teach, I coach technology leaders on how to apply one of what I call the 6 factors of high performance. And when in this, you will master all 6 of these. And when you do, you will see huge results on your team's development. Now, of course, we don't have time to go into all 6 of these today. So I'm going to give you one factor about getting the most out of your training programs. And it's so powerful that when you begin following this format and beginning following some of these stories that I'm going to share with you, you will not only increase your confidence in using training programs as a tool to develop, but also to watch your team grow in new and more effective ways almost immediately, right after you start doing those sorts of things. So I am about to show you how to strategically use training as a tool to help grow your team. But here are some of the mistakes that some, or actually you could say even most technology leaders and managers make. Number one is because of a performance incident on the team just happened, you quickly go and you find a training program to correct that performance, right? There's something that happened and I've got to get that corrected. Oh, I saw this training and that's going to fix this and correct that performance. Another mistake that you will make is that out of frustration of a history of poor performance, sometimes over a long period of time, you decide now, hey, this issue just has to be fixed. You come to a breaking point and you decide that you're going to use training to fix this issue. And then another mistake that most common we see in technology leaders is that that part of your job is to develop your team by giving them new skills, but you don't really have a consistent tool to identify what they need most, and even how to put together a plan to build upon itself and to ultimately help them to grow in their career and their role. So the problem of doing these things and making these mistakes is that you and your team start to see training as a waste of time, and you not only spend your valuable budget, but more importantly, your valuable time, only to make little or many times even no progress. Now, as I mentioned, I have 6 ways of actually doing this. And inside of the 6 factors of high performance, we have all of those things covered. And I'm going to share with just one of those with you today about training. And most technology leaders, they go to this because it is one of the most misused, but it also, you can easily begin to use it today and actually start seeing results tomorrow when you do this right. So I've gotten requests from many prospective clients and even existing clients, mostly in technology organizations. And over the years, they're asking me to deliver training on a number of very specific training topics. And here's what many of these clients are asking for in these titles. See if you recognize any of these. Time management, decision-making, acting like an owner, fixing a new manager, someone who's gotten new in a role as a manager, improving team communication, priorities, identifying and prioritizing, keeping teams engaged, etc. This list could go on and on, but I think that you kind of get the idea of the kinds of topics. And you may have even identified that those are the kinds of topics that I'm looking for in training, right? But here's my response. And my response almost all the time is that I begin asking questions, of course. Actually, in a podcast from just 2 episodes ago, I talk about why I ask questions, and you can go back and watch that episode if you like. But here's a variety of some of the questions that I ask. I ask questions like, why this training title, right? So they pick the training title. I like this training title, Chris, and this is what I want you to train on, is on this title. Well, a title is a very short phrase, right? That is doing its best job to describe what is contained inside the training, but that's all it does, right? It's a very high level. So I start asking questions to understand why this training title. What is it inside this training title think is going to help you get to what you're trying to accomplish? Another leading question that kind of gets into that is, what problem are you trying to solve? Let's put this aside. Let's get clear about what's the problem, what's the issue you're having right now, and what are you trying to fix? What is it you're trying to fix in this? Another question is, what is an example of an issue that you are addressing? What's a specific example, maybe even a more recent example that you've had? Tell me a story about what happened and why that is not what you want to happen. So when we start getting examples of the issue you're trying to address, we're starting to get a clearer picture of what needs to happen in any kind of training program. And then one last question I'll share with you, amongst a bunch of other questions I may ask, is that what would be the perfect result that you're after? We're talking about, hey, if you were to have some sort of a perfect result here, what would that look like? Let's paint a picture of at the end of this, let's say, training, what would ultimately happen. Let's just go to that rosy picture of what you're getting at. So as a result, we get to the real result that the leader is after. So for example, a leader has asked me for a time management training, right? But what we do through the questioning, examples of questioning that I just shared with you in a moment or a moment ago, is that we later realize that there's actually a culture where there's no deadlines. So they're asking for time management training because it's perceived that people on the team don't know how to manage their time. When what we really find out is that there's a culture in the team, in the organization, where we don't really establish clear deadlines. So in this case, what we actually went to is that I helped to coach the leader to apply some simple strategies to more consistently establish deadlines on the team. And when the leader starts doing that, of course, the leader is the culture. They're responsible for the culture. They start setting up what the culture is of the team, that, hey, we are going to have consistent deadlines. And the team starts to also practice these deadlines. We also additionally identified that some team members who still did not meet deadlines, I worked with the leader to fully apply all 6 factors of high performance. So it was way more than just one single thing. And in some cases, we actually had to go further and apply with this leader. Applying all 6 of these factors of high performance actually helped to address the individual needs of some of the people on the team. Let me share with you another example. Another example is, this is one I get all the time, and this is no surprise. I actually find that I don't think that anybody ever really masters communication, right? Communication is where you are right now, and we're all trying to get consistently better. As a matter of fact, I think that communication practice and communication skills deteriorate over time. They're constantly deteriorating. So you're constantly having to improve and focus on your communication. But another example, of course, is improve team communication. They're frustrated about some sort of communication that's happening on the team, and we just simply have to become better communicators. Okay. Well, what we found, again, through some of the questioning that I shared with you earlier, is that we found an organization without an established communication system. They actually had many tools available to them, but they didn't really have a communication system to communicate consistently, certainly dependent on what some of those communication types were. So in this case, what we did is I actually facilitated a session. So I facilitated a session, not a training program. And in that session, what we did is we identified different communication mediums that are available to the team, and even communication mediums that had maybe not been considered in the past. We also defined how and when to appropriately use these different communication mediums, because just because you have a communication medium, it may not be the most effective for different types of communication. So we got really clear about when is the appropriate use of this type of communication medium. And then we also later provided then training to learn how to, and really about communication preferences of the team, so that communication was best received. Because, I mean, think about this. When we get to communication, if the person is not able to receive the communication you're trying to deliver to them, what's the use in communicating to them at all in the first place? So it's good to understand why people receive communication differently on your team, and what might be the way in which someone can actually receive that communication best. And then one last example I'll share with you is that this leader, they wanted help to keep the team engaged, and because they were having trouble with the team. They were engaged sometimes, they were disengaged other times. Just felt like there was a lack of overall engagement on the team. And what we found is that the leader, they were always in meetings and rarely interacted with the team. Hey, I can definitely associate with this, because I remember when I first became what I call a title leader, where in the title of my job, I was expected to lead a team. Of course, I had a team, but I was in meetings all the time, right? And I didn't have any time to see my team, or for my team to see me. So what we did is I worked with the leader and together what we did is we got clear about their priorities, all the priorities of all the things that they did, and even the meetings that they attended. And what we did is we established one-on-one meetings with the team, and what we called field time. The field time is where you are out and about amongst the team, just simple interaction. It seems very informal, but it's informal with a purpose. What we did really is increase face time with the team, and also to lead by example, to show the team what engaging looks like to the team. So I'm not here saying that training is bad. It's not at all, but we want to make sure that we are implementing training at the right time and that we are really addressing what you're truly trying to achieve and what you're trying to get at. So training's not bad. Let's just make sure that we're purposeful with the training that you are delivering. What I am saying, let's just, of course, be very clear about the true root cause of the problem and to determine the best way to address that root cause. And more importantly, really just get the results that you're after. It doesn't matter how you get there. We just want to get to those results. And I'm here to help you actually identify what's the best way to get to those results. Now, I absolutely love talking with technology leaders about their team performance and how to get the best performance out of their technology teams. It's almost always applying really just simple tools, systems, and programs to accomplish high performance on the team. So let's talk about your situation. And we can talk about that through scheduling a free strategy call with me. And they're very simple. They're free. It's a strategy call where we identify what your current strategy is, whether you have one or not, whether you know you have one or not. We get clear about what is your current strategy, and then also what's working now, because we certainly don't want to mess up what's working now, but where also you may need some help. And then also on this call, what I always do is I share with you some idea, something you're able to implement immediately, because I want you to get off that call and go and implement something and then start to see results as quickly as possible. So that's the one promise I have in these. So if you are interested in that strategy call, you can just simply go to AuthenticSuccessOnline.com. And on that first page, you can actually click on the button that says free strategy call so we can discuss your situation today. I want to encourage you to follow us on Facebook. You can just go to Authentic Leader Now on Facebook. You can also find some more information at ChristopherRJones.com or AuthenticSuccessOnline.com. There's more information about all the programs that we offer, including some free stuff, access to the podcast, some free downloads, and so forth. Also, of course, this free strategy call. And I just want to simply thank you for joining us today. And please come back for the next week for another episode.